recording from my end, and so we're recording.
Awesome. All right. Well, just want to say good evening, afternoon, or even perhaps morning, wherever you may be at this moment. Welcome to our live event on our page Holding Grace. Before we begin, I would just like you all just to take a deep, deep breath in, and just breathing in, slowly exhaling, letting go of all the tensions or anxiety or anything that is currently affecting your energy right now. And take another deep breath in, releasing again, and just taking a moment to really honor yourself right now. Honor where you are right now, honor your commitment to yourself right now, and know wherever you are at this moment, in this moment, is absolutely perfect. So take a moment again to really breathe in and just ground the love and grace you have surrounding you. So our event today was named Grace Wins, and for a very good reason for that. We're going to be touching on the topic of finding grace in the midst of our suffering and being able to recognize the grace in our lives in that suffering. I am honored and excited to formally introduce my co-host today, Heather Sunk. And along with being a very dear friend, I just want to tell you a little bit more about Heather, and she's going to fill in the rest of the details. But Heather is an international speaker and writer on such topics as loss, grief, trauma, NDEs, near-death experiences, and truly does speak from her heart. After suffering from her own brain injury, she can really speak to her recovery and what it was like moving into life and beyond. A motivational empower to all walks of life, her and her team simply bring brilliance. To where there is loss, there is hope, and for our event today, where there is suffering, there is grace. Many have seen her on national TV and her personal live radio shows. Heather believes, as do I, that all of us were born with intuitive ability and the capacity to read energy fields, but that this innate ability gradually diminished over time because it has been culturally fueled or devalued instead of cultivated. One of the many joys in her life is teaching healthcare professionals and others how to acknowledge, trust, and develop their own intuitive skills. And today she mentors many, allowing those to step into the true essence of who they really are. Again, so excited to share this space here with you today, Heather. We talked about getting really raw today, being real and raw with our own stories in hopes that others can relate and identify with them. And having said that, we would love to hear your story, talking about, perhaps your life before your brain injury, and then of course going through that, how it impacted your life, and then, life after, or moving into life after. We would love to hear from you.
Beautiful. And thank you, Sandy. Like, you and I have known each other for quite a few years now. And through that journey and those months and those years, we've shared so many things on so many levels, and being a sounding board for each other, especially when we have found ourselves in a struggled time, or a struggle pit, I call it.
Yeah, struggle pit, yeah.
Struggle pit. So it's like, my incredible life for all these years has been an incredible journey. And I guess the topic for me that I absolutely want to tap into today is about rejection. I know through technical errors and everything that we tried to get this live with everybody from 2 weeks ago, and through here in New Zealand and the events that have been happening here through storms or something kept us apart from being able to deliver something magical to you all. I'm all about magic. So this is my first time, as Sandy knows, and some of you know, that I've actually been back into the public viewing for 3 years. Call it a sabbatical. I've been on a sabbatical where I've had to really, really, really deep dive into what I want to give to other people. So I've been on holiday, sabbatical holiday, whatever you want to call it, and really taking stock into what grace actually means in my life. Now, in these 3 years, you know, I'm on 365 pages of delivering a book. So I want to touch on that just for a moment. It's just only just going to be for a touchy moment. Prior to those 3 years, I was traveling around New Zealand and I was helping hundreds and hundreds of people. I had my clinic in Hamilton, I had radio, live television. But what I found was I was actually a puppet on a string, and how other people wanted to portray me. So over these 3 years, through another event in my life, I decided to shut all the doors, and yet I still had my private schools and where I was teaching people online. And we have to do that. We absolutely have to do that. We have to go back and within ourselves and look at everything, like turn all those rocks, turn the rocks up and look underneath, and what we were becoming, and what we the expectations of what people expected of us. As you know, I was called a miracle healer, and I was called a spontaneous healer and a quantum field and all these good feely words. So 3 years ago, I shut the doors to absolutely everything because I wasn't doing humanity justice, because I wasn't being who I am. So yes, I had this incredible journey of a brain injury. It was actually a aneurysm, a right frontal lobe. And I spent many, many months in recovery. I had to walk, talk, speak, learn, to write, to learn skills where I had to train my brain to focus on, just for an example, because everything is so funny and so quirky and so gorgeous, I had to reprogram the brain. The OTs and the doctors down in the brain injury unit couldn't do me any good. Actually, I ended up teaching them, and that's what I love about it. And the reason why I say that is because I had grace all around me. And the reason why I had grace all around me is, in my near-death experience, I had to release everything. I had to learn to let go. I had to surrender, if that makes sense. I didn't have an ounce of energy left to fight the pain and the suffering that I was feeling. So there are 3 different aspects. I had the physical presence, meaning I knew what was happening to me physically. I knew that I had lost all my faculties. I knew that I was unable to use anything, my arms, my eyes, my ears, my legs, my limbs. That was the physical side. I knew that I had lost all coherence to actually what was happening outside of me, yet I was very, very still and very, very mindful of what was happening within myself. And then on a spiritual level, and yes, a spiritual level, I knew that something else was taking over. And once I knew that I was actually dying, I had to surrender. And that was the most fearful time in my life, and where I had to surrender and allow and let be. So my journey into death was very surreal. And I went, and these are just words. These are just words. I didn't see a bright light. I didn't see what the good feeling, good books say about dying. I experienced a time where once I knew I was dying, and that moment and that time was, I had to let go of this energy field of humanity, because that was my push and pull of knowing that I was going to leave my 6 children behind, that I was going to leave my homes behind, and yet I was suffering and screaming in the sounds of my head and being able to, I have to let go. I have to let go. So in that time, in my near-death experience, and this is the most magical thing, the most incredible experience that anyone can have on this earth time when they're passing away and suffering and pain, a grace comes in. When you realize that you need to go, I have to let go. Now, I say this here for anyone because it implies to absolutely everyone that is suffering somewhere in their life. You need to, at some point, that you need to let go and allow grace to step in. Now, I kind of Googled grace a little bit, Sandra. I had to do it because people have their point of view about grace. May it be God, may it be the divine energy, may it be whatever religion. We've got billions of religions on this earth plane. May it be surrendering all. But ultimately, at the end of the day, sweetheart, and the viewers here, it's all one. We are all one, and when we have to give up, there has to be a point in our lives that we have to surrender. I don't mean give all your power away, but surrender to what is happening within yourself. So in that time, yes, 7 Sharp Television, they did a 2-day filming and they got a 5-minute. They got me in my offices and everything, and it was the fact that when I surrendered, grace stepped in. And it was beautiful. Yes, I was on the other side for that time while they were working on me. And yes, I felt very scared. I was very, very scared in that moment of death. And yes, but the most amazing thing was, yes, I came back in that moment. And yes, I knew that the rest of my life was going to be full of suffering. Because what do you do with someone who's been on the other side? What do you do with the craziness of a person that's come back from death? So I worked with Massey University here in New Zealand, and my ultimate goal was to bring people who have suffered from near-death experiences out of their closet. For me to reach every heart and every home. And how can we pull out people? Well, I was kind of the forefront in that Massey University study. But I also set myself up for ridicule. We're in this beautiful world of 8 billion. I'm sure there's lots and lots of people. But every single human being on this planet has their own opinion about grace. Every single person has their own opinion about religion. Every single person has their opinion about the next door neighbor or something, or someone or something. But they haven't suffered enough to know that grace exists. So I was this crazy, sweet, innocent human being, full of life, full of absolute beauty, who came back from hell, and then I had to learn to walk and talk and discover what it means to be on planet Earth, what it means to be able to walk in this world, but not of it. And what I mean about this, everybody, is the fact that, do you want to call it reborn again, or do you want to call it, I don't know what you want to call it, but I woke up with some pretty special gifts. And those gifts were the fact that I could hear a pin drop. I could hear the sounding in people's minds and their heads. I could see their heartbeat, the blood pumping through their veins. I can see on this beautiful planet Earth, Mother Earth, the pain, the suffering. You know, we speak about empaths in this world. No, I'm not an empath, because I believe that empaths are here on this world to make a difference. And the wrong teachings about that word. Empaths are here to make a change, to be change for humanity. So I went through the silence, and I did, sweethearts, and this is the most incredible journey, the best decision I ever made. I left humanity. I left humanity and worked with, and I went back to Massey University to study pigs. And I spent 2 years all by myself with 360 kilo pigs. And those pigs, humans didn't, but those creatures, those incredible, amazing creatures taught me how to run, taught me how to fall over a pebble on the earth in Christchurch, in North Canterbury. They taught me how to cry. They taught me how to really run for my life. They taught me to sing. They taught me joy. So it took the animals to teach me how to live on planet Earth, because I found humanity very, very strange and very cruel. So this is where I come here today and presenting myself to you all. As humans struggle, they struggle in their identity. They struggle having to live in this gorgeous earth plane. They have everything against them from the time they take their first breath. Someone or a critical mind is judging them. Now this is where I'm coming to. So when I woke up from my coma, and when I went into rehab and I had to come back out into this world, I had absolutely no one left that believed in me. I had lost my home, my children, my husband, and I only came out with a $2 coin. But I had grace. And look, speaking about this, guys, I've got tears in my eyes. I only had a $2 coin. So for a few years I struggled. I went and worked with the pigs, and yet I had this innate ability to hear thousands and thousands of miles away. I could read people's minds. Now, this wasn't psychic or anything like this. It was the fact that we all had this innate ability to feel another human being. You know, let's step into these wordings. Shall we just step into these wordings? We've got the quantum field. We've got energetics. We've got psychic abilities. We have these incredible words. It just doesn't do us justice. It really doesn't do us justice. And you know, and then I'm going to get on to the miracles in just one moment. We have this ability, if we are prepared to stop, drop, and listen to ourselves, to be able to touch another human being's life by just being present or standing next to another human being. In my radio shows, it was, look, I've just been so blessed. I have honestly been, it's been a struggle. There's been a lot of critical minds. I've done it solo, and I have this ability to be able to turn up in front of hundreds of people and not say a thing, and people are healed. by just being who I am. And that is love. That is grace. And just knowing that I have suffered and I know there's suffering, but there's another facet to it, and that is the silence of grace. Yes, I experienced this incredible force field, if you want to call it a force field. And on the other side of it, I know that there is a detrimental force field because I've seen it and I've had to deal with it myself. So basically, we are all looking for a something. We're looking for belonging. And in that belonging, we go in search of that belonging. And we find ourselves in hideous connections. I did it. I got trapped, and that's my book. It's caught by a trapdoor, bitten by scorpions, because I felt that I needed to belong on this planet Earth. What do you do with someone who is similar to me? What do we do with people that are suffering? And so we go looking and we find ourselves in situations where we're torn and shredded to pieces. Because what are we dealing with here? We're dealing with, and you know, Renee, thank you for being on, my darling, and Sandra. I'm a very straightforward person, and I go, we're dealing with idiots. We're dealing with stupidity. No one's got it. No one's got that essence of just turning up and being who you are. Because what's happened is, if someone, I'll do that. Let's go back to the Jesus dude, because I've done a lot of study on the Jesus dude. He was ridiculed. He was stomped. He was didn't have friends. He went into the desert for 40 days and 40 nights, you know, if you want to go down that angle. And then if you look back with the crazy ones and the misfits that are inheriting the earth, they all too were ridiculed. They were stomped on. So when I started doing my live events throughout New Zealand, throughout the world actually, and I met up with some pretty powerful people, I found, and that's why I haven't done anything for 3 years, because they wanted it. It was like this, everybody wanted your coattail of an essence that belonged to you, that belongs to all people. And then people started making this gift, whatever you want to call it. It isn't a gift, it just is, into some sort of crazed out specialness. But I chose to leave that arena. I chose to leave it because we all have the innate ability to heal thyself. We all have this incredible ability to listen to grace. We all have this incredibleness about us, but we're not listening because we're so consumed in the sparkle syndrome, looking for something new, looking for something that is better than something else, or better than a religion, or better than a new age quantum field or something. But if we can tap into our innate ability, oh my God, I have witnessed miracle after miracle after miracle. But the blessing there of grace, but there's also another side that's going to bring you down, because you're being seen in this world. Hence the reason why I left the media and the public eye, because I needed to come back to my grace. I needed to come back to something that I'm going to bring back into the world on a different level.
And Heather, if I may, often people are looking for a quick fix, you know, yes, what will quickly take this pain away. I know I certainly did at first. I was desperate for a sign when my son passed away. So desperate that I slept outside under the stars in my yard, just looking up, asking for a sign, a shooting star or something. Like, I slept outside for a week. I literally felt, paralyzed in my grief, and started with all kinds of stories of blame, shame, guilt, all running through my mind. I was feeding my suffering constantly. If I only had, or I should have seen, or I wish story after story, I was telling myself, getting deeper and deeper into this paralysis of pain. And looking back, it was grace that helped me get up in the morning, that helped me be strong for my daughters, help them with their suffering. It was grace that showed up, showed me how to comfort my son's best friend at his service, who was so devastated by this loss. And then came words of encouragement from friends, more grace, moments of laughter and reminiscing, even more grace. Songs of hope on the radio, the ultimate gift of grace, and multiple dimes showing up, more and more grace. And eventually I started to move out of my paralysis, my pain, and started to breathe in the grace. And I started to recognize the support all around me, and all that the stories I was telling myself to keep me in that suffering were just stories. And eventually I allowed grace to guide me into my healing, one step at a time and one day at a time.
Yes. Wow. That grace, eh?
Powerful.
It's very powerful. But what do we say to people that haven't experienced that grace and that pain and suffering? That's the question that I often ask myself. What do we say to people who... There's a saying. There's a teacher that I was so blessed with, and he said, humanity hasn't suffered enough to experience grace. And I go, what do you mean? I thought we were all suffering of some aspect of just surviving here. We're in this world of, well, if you look at the news, I love looking at the news and love seeing what's on there. I'm concerned. I'm concerned about the media. I'm concerned about what is going out there, the messages that are going out there, the quick fixes, but people haven't actually caught grip of the fact that we have to suffer a little to be able to experience the finery of beauty. They haven't been taught about the beauty. They've only been taught about you're in this world and get over it, They haven't been taught about that other aspect of beauty behind that grace. I'm privileged, and I'm just so grateful for these 3 years and where we shifted to. I was able to create a magical place of beauty, of creatures great and small, and living off the land and going out every now and then and experiencing. But people don't have that gift of being able to do that. So someone like us, and I know our dear friend Renee is here, and I know that a lot of people are listening. We have that gift to be able to be out in the elements of experiencing the wind and the rain, and especially here in New Zealand, and the foods and the essence, the elixir of all creation. Now, I'll just get rid of that because we are coming up to 10 minutes time. How do we show people the facets of, and I'll say this, the good and bad and ugly, and this is how we can do it, by just simply turning up today in a webinar with us. And we will continue to do that, because I know that Lucy, I'm filling in for Lucy today, and I know that I'm filling in for many of you that have been in my groups. But all we need to do is just say yes. We just turn up and reach one person at a time. We may not know what that person is feeling in their life, but by just showing up, and grace and who we are being here today is how we're going to touch that one person at a time.
Absolutely.
Mm.
I'm witnessing that more and more every day with people around me, and it's beautiful. It's such a gift.
Wow. And we're coming up to Christmas, Sandra. Mm-hmm. And we're coming up into this incredible time. I hadn't been out for a week and I went uptown today. Crazy. It's so crazy, especially what's happening here in New Zealand and the top north of the island, of the craziness. And I'm looking at things, and I'm going, what? It's like I'm opening up every day because I choose to actually see what's happening behind the scenes and why people are suffering. They don't have grace. And, I was up the aisle and I was looking for that grace, isn't it? We have to look for that grace every second, every molecule of our breath. We have to look for that grace, that stepping in of grace comes in. So I was looking at this aisle of honey. We're living in the green New Zealand honey. $50 for a tub of honey. And I'm going, what? Because I was looking for honey because I grow, my husband and I grow our vegetables. And I'm making elixirs with garlic and everything. I've done one batch and I wanted, and I looked at it. But there in Grace, she must have been 80 years old or more, a tiny little Maori woman. And I looked at her and I go, and I just said something cuff off my head, and I go, they should be paying me for feeding their bees to make this honey. It was just a quirky conversation in that grace moment. And she looked at me and she goes, I can only afford this. And she picked up a $5 tub. And $5 is a lot of money here in New Zealand, not for the rest of the world. Our money doesn't go far here in New Zealand. And we ended up following each other through the supermarket. But it was grace that was pushing us together in every aisle. And I thought, now what's the gift here in this moment? And the grace was just listening to her. The grace was just being able to go and support her. Mm-hmm. So you don't know in your daily adventures or your daily conversation online on that one-on-one, and I love the online media like this, you don't know who you're touching through a conversation and bringing that grace through. Mm-hmm. So today, my gift to you all, look for the grace. Look for the magic, because I'm all about magic. Look for the beauty in everything. Yes, there's good, bad, and ugly, but look at another human being, look at another creature, and just put your hand on your heart and go, it's grace. And there you will overcome any obstacle.
Beautiful. Mm. Absolutely.
Because you can.
Because you can.
Yeah. Because you can.
Yep. I've actually heard from, just people I'm in touch with, and just the incredible stories they've actually shared. Denise, who's on the call listening, she's one of them who has experienced some incredible grace in this last few weeks as well. So, and I'm hearing more and more of those recognizing it and calling it for what it is, So it's beautiful. But I do believe in your words about just being present, just showing up, and just paying attention, just seeing what's around you. Yeah, paying attention in a different sense, though. Paying attention with all your senses,
And I think I can, go back to someone that pulled me off the street, and he said to me, you will never ever be given anything that you cannot handle. Keep going. And these are the words that I want to give you all. You will never, ever be given anything that you cannot handle. And that keeps me going. And another one too was, if you're really suffering this Christmas time, it's none of your business what other people think. And just keep going and just keep going. And those are the only two positive things that keeps me going, because, you know, I've got a lot more to say. And, you know, perhaps Sandra and all of us, we really open this up and start having discussions about grace, and we start and holding that grace. We have to hold that grace in our despair. Absolutely. Because that's the only thing that keeps us going through destruction, pain, and joy, because grace is also in joy and celebrating. Absolutely. Celebrating amazingness. And I love miracles. Mm-hmm. I love tuning up and seeing people that are disfigured walking again within seconds, because that's the grace. That's the gift that each of us give to this world, is giving that opportunity to another to be able to be pain-free and no more suffering. Suffering is unnecessary. Yeah. So thank you deeply. Thank you deeply for bringing me into your life. It's just amazing.
Thank you. It's been an amazing journey, and many more to come, many more adventures to come, I'm sure. And thank you for sharing and coming out from
3 years.
For 3 years. I mean, maybe tell us a little bit about, what you look forward to in the next year. What are your plans?
Well, my plans are, I'm heading back to the South Island, and then I come home, and I am taking quite a few people on a retreat in Middle Earth. And I am going to, and I'm just so privileged to pass over a legacy to them, and what I have been taught about living on planet Earth and just being with the elements and being with one another. That's what I'm looking forward to. Plus, I have another group starting up. I listen to Grace. I listen to what I'm supposed to do next. It's always a flow of energy that I've got to, like, in my dream state, because I love being in my coma. I love being in my coma. So when I sleep and when I'm in my coma state sleep, this is where Grace speaks to me. I get my next mission. It's called a mission. And so I'm starting another one, another 6-week series. We've just finished a 6-month. This one's pretty spot on, and it's, I just can't wait. I just can't wait just to be with people. And it's just tuning up. It's just being with another human being. I take people on a journey to themselves, because we are all individuals and we all have this quirky, misfitty little gift, and it's tapping into that gift to be a better person on this earth plane. Mm-hmm. So yes, that's what I'm doing.
Awesome. Exciting.
Thank you.
And how does one see you or see your presence? Or
I'm going back on stage.
Are you? Oh.
So you're coming to New Zealand.
I'm coming. Yeah.
I'm going back.
Looking forward to that. Oh, that's wonderful. That's great.
I'm going back on stage.
Okay. So is that in the springtime? Well, your seasons are opposite, I believe,
yes,
right?
Yes, so we are heading into our summer, and when I get to Christchurch, I've got this book that I have to finalise. April we meet, but in between time, I've been the founder of Global Summits Online. Yes. We may do one together, Sandy. Okay. Mm-hmm. I've done 5 summits online globally, and yes, my mind is always ticking over because I'm productive. I'm I like producing stuff.
Yes.
I like
very good producer. Yes. And so do you mind sharing a little bit about your book, perhaps?
Yes, it's called Caught by a Trapdoor, Bitten by Scorpions. And this relates to all humanity. It's about being thrown out, rejected by society. It's about the miracles of being alone. It's about when humanity left me for dead and in came the angels. I had this huge brain injury, and in the middle of the night, it wasn't humans that met my needs because I had a 12-week-old baby. These angels came in and put cabbage leaves because I was lactating. There were people in the middle of the night, nurses that came in and washed the blood from my hair, people that washed my feet, people that took care of my needs. I speak about the moment that I was to be let out of a brain injury unit after months and months and months, but I had to pass some sort of an exam where the Jesus dude walked in and he made the cup of coffee. I had to learn to make a cup of coffee before I could be let out of jail. So I speak about that. So the OTs were distracted, and in comes this Grace that came into my room and made the cup of coffee because I didn't know what a cup of coffee was. Speaking about what happens on the other side. I am speaking about the destruction of coming back to earth. I call it coming back into the density of pain and suffering. And I also speak about a $2 coin, where I only had a $2 coin after I owned thousands of dollars worth of property, where because my family were told that I was brain dead and I walked back in, going back into a small town. I speak about religion. I speak about how churches were shut down because of the accusations that I was sinning. That's why I had an aneurysm. I speak about a lot of things, and I speak about me exposing pedophiles in religion and the New Age movement, because that's what I was used for, only for the fact that I was protecting the vulnerable. And that's my book, and that's all happened since I awoke from my coma. And I speak this because it's everyday occurrence in everybody's life. And I give the courage for everybody in this world to speak up and be their truth. I personally am going through, and thanks be to you and the likes of Renee and Tracy, I'll be in my moment where I've remembered something because I lost a lot of memory, and I can be vulnerable. And I go, oh my God, I've just remembered this. And having that family and being able to be real and raw and being accepted. So it all implies to, and then I also speak about me going back to nursing because I've been through it. I was able to help other people that have had aneurysms because we're not to survive. And where I changed the medical thinking. That's why I had a clinic next to Oncology in Hamilton. And I was adamant that I was going to change people's perception and how they speak upon another human being. It's that voice. You can either kill someone or you can heal someone through your words, through the power of the spoken word. And that's what this book. So I'm glad, and I'm so glad that I can finally be me and feel very vulnerable when I'm experiencing something.
Right.
And I don't know where it's coming from. Normally I hide, but now I have learnt to trust again. And I'm so grateful. I'm just, with tears in my eyes, I'm just so grateful that I'm able to go, this is what I'm feeling. And I'm not happy with this feeling and I'm really scared. Can someone help me? So I've learnt to reach out for help.
Right. That's wonderful. Big step. That was a big step for you.
That was a big step for me.
Yeah.
That was a huge step for me.
Absolutely. So, I mean, we're pretty much wrapping up as far as time goes. Again, thank you so much for sharing this and sharing, you know, how the grace has moved through your life and continues to do so. And, you know, it's my prayer and wish that everybody watching will look at their lives with a new sort of perspective, with a new feeling, with a new understanding of what's around them. And everybody has a field of grace around them. And it's just a matter of listening. It's just a matter of tuning in.
And do you know what, my sweetheart? It's my turn to interview you.
Okay.
So stay tuned for that one, because I believe in my whole heart of heart, the love that I have for you, Sandra. You have this gift that only you can give to this world, and grace. And, you know, this is what today's all about, is honouring. And I honour you because you have an incredible knowledge that's also going to help billions of people on this earth plane. And I'm just so excited for you.
Thank you.
And we're only 300 in holding grace. And I am supposed to be only filling in for our beautiful Lucy. But it's about all of us.
It is.
And that's what I'm excited for.
Yeah.
So thank you deeply.
Thank you. And thanks everybody who's listening and who will be tuning into this later.
Yes.
The link will be on the page. And monthly is our goal to continue with live casts like this, different subjects, all about grace, but you know, we'd like to hear from others and interview others as well. And through others sharing their stories, their messages, I think we all can benefit. We can all learn and grow and all experience more and more grace.
And please do, if this has touched your heart, watching Sandra and I, send us a message, because between one of us, you know, there's many of us, we're there. You know, a month is a long time. But know that we're there and that we will always respond. If you have a question or if you want to hear more, just please message us, okay? Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, that wraps it up for this evening, this afternoon in New Zealand.
Yes, thank you.
Enjoy the rest of the day, and just thank you, Denise, for coming on as well.
Thank you,
and
Denise.
Thank you both.
We'll see you.
And thank you, Renee. Okay. I'll see you later. Thank you.
Okay.
Blessings.
Bye-bye. Blessings, everyone.